Oh, goodness. Let me pull it up. Hi, everyone. I'm coming down with a little bit of a cold, so please be patient with me. I'm going to be sneezing, sniffling, you name it. Okay, so when I posted, I didn't expect to have such a big response, but I just want to break down some of the ideas that I have. But before I get into the ideas themselves, I want to say that our country needs us right now. There's no better time than now to go back home. We're a wealthy country, we're a wealthy people, we're kind people, patient people, loving people, and we have a lot to offer the world if only we could realize how rich we really are. I believe that 7 out of 10 Zimbabweans that are spread out throughout the world would love to be home. And a lot of us oftentimes say we'll go back home when things change, when things get better. But what we don't realize that the change is required and is possible by you and I going home and making the change happen. We cannot wait. We cannot afford to wait, because what will happen is essentially our government is going to have to give our country to other people that see a future, other people that can come and change things. And then we're going to cry again and say that we don't even own our own country. We need to go back home. We need to take responsibility for cleaning up, and we need to be the change that we want to see. A lot of you, some of you live in South Africa, some of you live abroad, some of you have children in Zim that are growing up without their parents. And I cannot imagine what it would have been like for me to grow up without my parents, for me to go to bed and for my mom and my dad not to kiss me goodnight. And if you have children, you're going to wake up one day and they're going to be in their late teens, and it'll be too late. You will not have a relationship with your children. We have such a beautiful country that if we could just wake up and realize how wealthy we are, the temperature, we have a wonderful climate in the country, we have rich soil, we have an educated population. If we can just get our act together and get organized, we can make things happen and change very, very quickly. With that said, I'm going to talk about the two business sides that I see possible in Zim. One is small business, which is your average person who maybe has been working out here, abroad in South Africa, and has been doing little jobs and not really seeing anything add up. And you want to go home and you just want to be able to make anywhere between 1.5 to 3,000 a month. And you need some kind of small business that will keep you busy, and that's for you. Number two is for someone else who might have a bit more money in the bank that they're willing to invest in starting a new business. All right, and for you, you might have a little bit more money in the bank. You might have 15, 20,000, 30,000, and you want to figure out what you can do because you miss home, and you want to be able to create something at home and maybe even return to live at home. So that's going to be category number two. I'm actually going to start with category number two. I was talking to somebody a few months ago, and he was telling me that he was raised in South Africa, but he's Zimbabwean, and his father was a doctor in Zim, but has been living in South Africa for some 12 years. And he's been thinking of going back home, and was thinking of different ideas that he could do, something he could do to sustain himself. And one of those ideas that he had in mind was to open a bed and breakfast on some busy road that's on the way, I think, to Harare, between Harare and Bulawayo. And I said, well, it's a good idea, but unfortunately, I don't think you're going to make a lot of money, because at the end of the day, I'm imagining if you're running a bed and breakfast, you're going to be charging anywhere between $50 and $100 per night. And the average person is not going to want to spend that much money. They'd rather sleep in their car and keep the road going, or leave early and travel in the day. And I said, you could do it, but I think you're going to struggle. One of my biggest things I always tell people when they're trying to start something, I always say, start with what you have. What do you have? He's got a doctorate. He's a doctor. He could open something else that could serve in his line of work that he's very well experienced in, but that can also make him more money, because we don't need another lodge in Zim. We don't need another bed and breakfast in Zim, especially not if you're trying to make money, because the locals have on average, I think, about $1 to $10 that they're willing to spend on a daily basis. So charging $50 to $100 is going to be very difficult to get that out of people's pockets. But when you're in this category of business that I spoke about earlier, what you want to do is you're going to want to focus on foreign money. You're going to want to focus on tourism money. And when you say tourism, it's not just like going to a game park and so forth. Tourism can be anything that you can offer people from anywhere in the world that they feel like they can only get where you are. So tourism is not just game parks and gaming reserves and so forth. Tourism can be a wellness center. If somebody is going through some kind of rehabilitation or treatment, they can go somewhere in the world where they can be in tranquility and have peace of mind and be taken care of, one at an affordable price, two at a place where they really feel that they could receive healing, then they would go there and spend that money to go there. For example, people in North America will go to Mexico sometimes for medical services. I actually went to Mexico myself to get my teeth done. It was something like $2,000, whereas in Canada it would have cost me about $7,000. So, for example, that is a tourism that Mexico has created. Plastic surgery, medical, so forth. People go to Mexico to get things done there. So I gave him that idea, and I think he's going to run with it, and I really do hope so. All he needs is maybe a place that has 10 rooms or 7 rooms that can house people that are coming for whether it's stroke recovery or accident recovery. And obviously he would partner with the right people to make it, you know, work properly, such as a nutritionist, someone who is a chef that maybe specializes in natural healing, a therapist, you know, people that are in that category, and hopefully Zimbabweans that are in the category that have studied this abroad or even have studied it locally that are looking for an opportunity. So that's something that's an example for someone who's a nurse or a doctor. If you are a teacher or were a teacher at one point, or a tutor, an educator, you could run an annual summer camp for a month where people, even Zimbabweans that have children that were born, oh, that was thunder. Sounds like it's gonna rain. Okay, so even Zimbabweans that have children that were born in the UK and so forth, they crave for their kids to see the country that they grew up in. So I could see them very well sending their kids to a camp, a summer camp, where of course they're stripped off of their phones for, you know, for majority of the time that they're there. They're learning they're learning how to go get water from the well. They're learning that real Zimbabwean, the real African experience that for the most part you don't get in other places. You don't get the kind of experience in South Africa. So not only them, the Zimbabweans with their kids, but you're gonna have South Africans that want to send their brat kids over there to experience a different way of living. And the people that are abroad, the Zimbabweans that are abroad, they now have friends from different parts of the world, and maybe would love to, for their kids to also go have an experience somewhere that is safe, somewhere that is clean, where they know that their kids are going to be taken care of and that they're going to be safe. And with that kind of business, if you charge $1,000 per kid, obviously it covers your food and their boarding, not flight, of course. You can, you know, you're also going to be able to provide employment. One of the things that we really need in Zim is to provide employment to people, which is why I'm against the idea of buying clothes and shoes and so forth in China and bringing them home to sell, because we don't need that in Zim. We don't need more. We don't need another 10,000 pairs of Chinese made shoes. We need jobs. We need to create jobs, and we need to create our own manufacturing on top of creating tourism that falls in different categories. And for the rest of the year, when you're not running a camp, you can run an exchange student system where you bring exchange students from Russia, Ukraine, anywhere in the world where people want their kids to go to another part of the world to experience what life is like in other parts of the world, where they bike, 5 kilometers to get to school. And I feel like the Western world really has a yearning to humble their children, to make their children realize that life is not just about Twitter and Instagram and playing games on your computer or on your phone. So that's a service that you can really offer, that you can't really offer in other parts of the world, where you can be so detached, whether your home or this place that you're hosting is in Gweru, somewhere which is, far enough from civilization, but still close, where you can still get, to a hospital and so forth. So when you run something like that, that are going to be working there, sports people that are going to, play with the kids and so forth, and you're teaching them team building and communication and all. So you list all these benefits of what the kid will experience and take away from that month away. All right. If you're a chef that has been working in a restaurant, maybe in South Africa and other parts of the country, you and a bunch of other people, if possible, can go home and offer a gastronomical tourism experience. You can speak with the government or the city council to offer you a space where you can set out, a beautiful space twice a week, once a week, where, there's food carts and food trucks, and you're all doing something different and cool. I call it gastronomical tourism. I believe that we have so many well-experienced chefs, baristas, bartenders, Zimbabweans that are living abroad and in South Africa, that if we all went back home, we could create a gastronomical tourism where people from all over the world want to come to Zim and experience this massive food fair, whether it is an entire street that has nothing but, you know, pop-up restaurants or food carts or whatever it is, whether it's happening every day or it happens only on the weekends. You create these amazing experiences that people around the world want to come and experience what we have. So we're not just depending on local turnover. Also falling under the food and gastronomical tourism category, I believe that we could open microbreweries in Zim. A microbrewery, to my understanding, it does not cost a lot of money. It just costs more patience and experience, and as you grow, you grow, you grow. We don't need one beer without one Castle Light that is made in a different country. We need to start making things in our own country that we consume, that we can eventually export. So I like the idea of looking at the industries that we're already spending money on and seeing how we can make it ourselves, providing obviously jobs for ourselves, employment for other people, but to get to a point where we can actually start exporting. All right, on this other side, this is more local. This is more like products and, pardon me. This is more like products and services that you can offer the regular man and woman living in Zimbabwe that has anywhere between $5 to $10 to spend, and which is the average that the average person is really willing to spend in Zen. It's this here category. Now I'm going more on the smaller scale, because the average person that I think responded to my comment might be someone who's been living in South Africa and maybe working small jobs, and they want to go home and maybe just have something that will make about, you know, $2,000 a month. So if you don't have a lot of money to begin with, I think one of the best things you can do is work with what you have. I say this all the time when I'm talking to some of my family members, when they say, oh, I don't have money, I don't have this, I don't have that. And I really do believe in working with what you have, because then once you shift your mind from, oh, I don't have enough money to do this, I don't have enough money to do that, and you shift your mindset to, actually, I have this and I have that, you actually do realize that you're capable of a lot more than you thought you were if you just start working with what you have. So I'm going to go into some simple things that you could do that are already existing industries in Zim that you can just do better with. I remember going to town to buy some fruits and vegetables. There's a street in town of Bulawayo. It's about 2 or 3 blocks of like people selling stuff. And what's interesting to me is that everybody's selling the same thing. Everybody has this space, this little space that's usually not even that clean, and everyone is selling tomatoes, lempita. Everyone's selling the same thing from this beginning of this block all the way to the end of the block, and I've not seen one person do anything different. If I wanted to show as an example, which I'm going to do, to people that all you need to do is just add a couple different things to what's already existing, and you will get the majority of the business because you've just done it a little bit tighter, whether you've offered the customer something new or you've just cleaned up the way that you do it, and all of a sudden now all the business is coming to you. There's already business, there's already markets, people are already selling product. But I was thought to myself, no one has done anything different about the space that they're in. I mean, you could just build a beautiful cart and paint it bright green or bright pink or bright yellow and put some turf in front of your little cart area where you sell your tomatoes and your cabbage and so forth, and maybe offer a smoothie to someone whoever spends $10 over. And all you need is a generator and a blender and some of the fruit that was probably going to go bad anyways. So I watch so many people on a daily basis and them throw food away at the end of the workday because they didn't sell it. When you could have just, I mean, people sell bananas for 10 cents. You could blend a banana with a little bit of milk, a dash of cinnamon, and some ice. And you can give a small amount like this for anybody who spends $10 or more. And that alone, automatically your business, all the business is coming to you. Of course, you're going to create some enemies probably, but that's what business is competition. Another idea, everyone is keeping chickens, everyone. But no one has thought, okay, what if I got a clean space where not only do we but we also slaughter them and so forth, but we also create little marinades so that when someone is buying my chicken, they can buy it marinated in a beautiful, a case or a cling wrap thing with a nice sticker that says Ndozo's barbecue chicken versus just trying to sell chickens. It's like sometimes I worry that we're either afraid to think of doing something, or we're afraid to do something that is different from others because we're afraid to get attention. When really that's what we need in our country. We need creativity. We need people to come up with ideas of just doing something a little bit different. It's the same industries that we have, but you could do it a little bit different. Omonye ulamchova. If you can get a portable Wi-Fi and you offer 15 minutes of free Wi-Fi for whoever comes onto your vehicle, and you charge maybe 25 cents more for the fare than everybody else, I guarantee you'll have a lot more people. And maybe even create an actual schedule for your vehicle. Whereas in Zim, there's no schedule. You're waiting at Guadini. You don't know if you're waiting for 10 minutes or you're waiting for 30 minutes for that thing to be full. But you have a schedule, and you have pickup points that are maybe different from everybody else's pickup point. And you just make everything cleaner, and you just offer a different service to people. If you're gonna go home and do something that is already an industry, clean it up. Add some sparkles to it, make it nicer, make it beautiful, so that people would rather come to you because they're already buying impupu. But what if yours came with some kind of spice seasoning on the side? So not just impupu, mhlope, but maybe it's garlic flavored or rosemary flavored impupu. It's very small little things that you can do. And also the next thing I'm gonna say is, if you're gonna start a small business like this, Ekaya, I would suggest that you really consider branding. So don't just be the lady at the end of the street that sells us. Create a little company around it. Create a little slogan with it. Create a little logo that goes with your product, so that your product becomes a business versus just you know what I mean? Like, you create something and you become really proud of it and have the goal to make this the best in the country, to make it the best in Southern Africa, to make it the best in Africa, and even have the intention to make it the best in the world. That's how we grow. That's how we make household names. It's also exciting. It gives people, local people, the feeling that something is changing, that our economy is changing, that exciting things are happening, and then it becomes contagious and other people start thinking, oh, you know what? I'm a really good artist. Maybe I should open a little showcase and try to put my art online. It takes even just 100 of us going collectively or individually and just being excited and getting onto it. It becomes contagious. It gets exciting, and I guarantee you will make money when you do something good for people. You'll make money. You just have to have the attitude of service, the attitude of that you're improving people's lives, and not just, I'm trying to make money. Of course, we're going to have challenges with the government. Of course, we're going to have this and that and that. But I do believe that the current government has an interest in growing the economy and hopefully in supporting small businesses. We need coffee shops. We need neighborhood coffee shops. Where people actually live, not just in town. We need coffee shops in our own little areas. In Kunumane, we need 2, 3, 4 coffee shops every 4 kilometers. People can go and feel a sense of community. And you might think that you need a lot of money, but you don't really need all that money. Of course, you need a clean space. I always say clean. You do need a clean space. You need, the piping and the water and the electricity and so forth. But a lot of things can be makeshift. If you go around a lot of these cute little coffee shops that are white owned, you find that there's sometimes a very artsy element where not all the tables are the same, not all the chairs are the same. So you create something like that in your work. So if you're wanting to come back home and you're just thinking of what to do, I'd like to encourage you to look at what you're already really good at and see how you can create that in Zim, whether for the locals or as a selling point for tourism for someone to travel